After the fall of Khaybar, Zainab bint Harith, a Jewish woman who had lost her family, boldly challenged Muhammad. She offered him poison. Her aim was to test the truth of his prophecy. If he were truly a prophet, God would protect him. If not, he would die. This act took place in the context of conquest, where Jews were massacred and the survivors subjected. More than an act of vengeance, it was a silent questioning of his authenticity. The poison didn't kill him immediately, but it left lasting effects, raising doubts about his mission. Was this enough to kill Muhammad? The conflict at Khaybar left a trail of blood and destruction. The city, a thriving Jewish community, was taken after intense battles. Muhammad's followers advanced with force, imposing their victory. The resistance was crushed, and the survivors were left defenseless before the victors. Among them was Zainab bint Harith, a woman who had lost her family in the invasion. In the face of tragedy, Zainab did not succumb to fear. Driven by grief and doubt, she decided to test the truth of Muhammad's prophecy. If he were truly sent by God, he would survive what she was about to do. If not, he would meet his end like any other mortal. Determined, she prepared a lamb and carefully poisoned it. Her plan was simple but filled with meaning: to offer the meal to Muhammad and his companions during a feast. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. The feast began, and Muhammad and his companions sampled the meal provided. The lamb, carefully prepared by Zainab, was served without raising suspicion. The aroma was pleasant, and the meat succulent. However, as soon as he took his first bite, Muhammad sensed something unusual. His palate detected a strange taste, an indication that something was amiss. Without hesitation, he stopped the meal, pushing the plate away. But for Bisr, one of his companions, it was already too late. Having consumed a larger portion, the poison began to take effect quickly. His body weakened, and soon he collapsed, lifeless. Shock filled the room. Now aware of the danger, Muhammad turned to Zainab and questioned her directly about her intentions. Without showing fear, Zainab looked at him and responded firmly, "If you are a prophet, nothing will happen to you." Her conviction was clear. To her, if Muhammad was just an ordinary leader, he would meet the same fate as any other king who faces betrayal. Amid all the pain caused by the conquest of Khaybar, Zainab had chosen to challenge Muhammad at the very heart of his destiny. Muhammad survived the poisoning, but the incident came with consequences. Although he interrupted the meal in time to avoid immediate death, the effects of the toxin lingered in his body. The poison, though in a smaller dose, left a deep mark, causing constant pain that would accompany him until his final days. Over time, the intensity of this suffering became evident. Islamic reports recount that Muhammad often repeated a disturbing phrase: "I feel as if my aorta is being cut." These words were not merely a metaphor. They revealed the severity of the agony that consumed him, an unbearable pain that seemed to erode his very existence. In an attempt to find relief, Muhammad resorted to various healing methods. He used cupping, a common practice at the time to draw out impurities from the blood. He sought solace in prayers and even invoked the angel Gabriel, hoping for divine intervention. However, nothing brought complete relief. The poison remained as a relentless reminder of the trial he had faced. Despite surviving Zainab's attack, his body was never the same. The suffering became a constant presence, a shadow that stayed with him until the end of his life. The poison claimed its first victim swiftly. Bisr died in agony, with no time to react. His death, and the prolonged effects it had on Muhammad himself, raised an inevitable question: why would a prophet be affected? Doubt loomed over all, but it was Zainab who voiced it most directly. When questioned, her answer was incisive: "If you are a prophet, nothing will happen to you." With this, she brought to light a dilemma that could not be ignored. Zainab's words echoed through time, especially when Muhammad began to repeat a troubling phrase. "I feel as if my aorta is being cut." This was no mere lament. This statement carried a prophetic weight, as there is a specific verse in the Quran that mentions such a fate. In verses 69, 44, 46, it is written that if a false prophet were to speak in the name of God without being sent, his aorta would be cut. The doubt about divine protection was not limited to the poison. Another significant event strengthened this uncertainty: the death of Ibrahim, Muhammad's son. The child fell gravely ill, and Muhammad prayed fervently for his survival. He called out to God, seeking a miracle that would confirm his mission, yet his pleas went unanswered. Ibrahim died while still young, leaving Muhammad deeply shaken. The loss of his son was seen as a troubling sign. If Muhammad were truly protected by God, why was his prayer not heard? The tragedy did not go unnoticed, and among those who questioned this event was one of his wives, Al-Shamba. Without hesitation, she asked a question that echoed as an affront. "If you were a true prophet, your loved one would not have died." Her words exposed a dilemma that many feared to confront. This public questioning disturbed Muhammad. The doubt cast by his own wife was a wound to his authority. Unable to tolerate such an insinuation, he decided to divorce her. Still, the incident left scars. The fact that his prayers had gone unanswered strengthened the doubts about the efficacy of his intercession and the true nature of his prophetic mission. The issue of prophetic authenticity extends beyond Muhammad. The Bible, long before the events of Khaybar, had already warned about false prophets and the need for discernment. In Matthew 7:15-20, Jesus teaches, "By their fruits you will know them." This principle is an essential criterion for evaluating any supposed divine messenger. A true prophet is not defined solely by his words, but by the concrete results of his mission. Jesus also warns against those who disguise themselves as sheep, but are in reality ravenous wolves. This metaphor emphasizes that not every religious leader or charismatic figure can be trusted. Many may appear holy, but their actions will reveal their true nature. This teaching reinforces the importance of paying attention to those who claim to speak in God's name. In the Old Testament, the issue is even more stringent. Deuteronomy 18:20-22 establishes that if a prophet spoke in the name of the Lord and his prophecy did not come true, he should be condemned to death. This criterion allowed no margin for error. A true prophet's words would be confirmed by events. Furthermore, the Bible teaches that an authentic prophet must produce good fruit, aligned with God's will. Their words and actions cannot contradict the divine message. If a prophet brings confusion, suffering, or doubt about God's truth, their fruits are bad, and therefore they do not come from the Lord. In the end, prophetic authenticity must be evidenced by the fulfillment of their words and their perfect harmony with divine instructions. God does not contradict himself, and any supposed messenger who goes against the teachings established in Scripture should be rejected. This principle remains valid today, demanding vigilance and discernment. The legitimacy of a prophet manifests not only in their words, but also in how their prayers are answered. In Muhammad's case, two events profoundly marked this issue: his poisoning and the death of his son Ibrahim. Both raised doubts about the extent of his divine protection and the truth of his mission. Muhammad survived the poison offered by Zainab, but never fully recovered. He suffered from persistent pain and often repeated the phrase, "I feel as if my aorta is being cut." This statement became even more intriguing when compared to the verse from the Quran 69:44-46, which states that if a false prophet attributed words to God, his aorta would be cut. The coincidence between his own experience and this sacred passage generated interpretations about his authenticity. Moreover, another episode reinforced the uncertainty. Muhammad fervently prayed for the life of his son Ibrahim, but the child died. For many, this loss demonstrated the absence of divine intervention, a stark contrast to the prophets of the past. In the Old Testament, Elijah and Elisha are examples of prophets whose prayers were answered without question. Elijah called out to God for the resurrection of a widow's son, and the child revived. Elisha performed similar miracles. These stories solidify the idea that a true prophet has a direct connection to God, whose responses are visible and unquestionable. Compared to this, Muhammad's suffering and unanswered prayers left room for questions that resonate to this day. The evaluation of a prophet is not based solely on their words, but primarily on the fruits of their mission. The Bible establishes a clear principle in Matthew 7:15-20. By their fruits you will know them. This passage teaches that prophetic authenticity must be measured by the real impact of their actions. A true prophet does not just proclaim the word of God, but demonstrates through their life that their message is genuine. Jesus reinforces this idea by stating that a good tree produces good fruit, while a bad tree bears bad fruit. There is no middle ground. If a prophet is truly sent by God, the results of their mission reflect this truth. If their words bring confusion, violence, or a distancing from God, then their fruits are evidence of their falsehood. The prophet Jeremiah also warned against those who speak in God's name without a true divine commission. In Jeremiah 23:16-18, he condemns the false prophets who follow their own thoughts and illusions, deceiving the people. A prophet's word must be confirmed by God, not sustained solely by their own declarations. In light of this biblical criterion, the comparison with Muhammad raises important questions. His unanswered prayers and the consequences of his mission spark doubts about the authenticity of his calling. The analysis of his fruits cannot be ignored, for they are what, according to the Bible, reveal whether someone truly speaks in God's name. The story of Zainab was not just an act of resistance, but a direct challenge to Muhammad's prophecy. Her gesture called into question the true origin of his mission. If he were truly protected by God, as he claimed to be, the poison would not have harmed him. If not, his vulnerability would reveal the truth. This episode became a test of faith, both for Muhammad and for those who believed in him. The impact of the poisoning went beyond the physical pain Muhammad endured until his death. The phrase he often repeated, "I feel as if my aorta is being cut," did not go unnoticed. The similarity with the Quranic verse, which states that God would cut the aorta of a false prophet, sparked historical and theological questions that persist to this day. This episode continues to be a topic of debate among scholars and religious figures. For some, Muhammad's survival proves his divine protection. For others, his prolonged suffering contradicts this idea and raises doubts about his authenticity. In this context, biblical teachings encourage a careful examination of prophetic claims. Discernment is essential to identify those who truly speak in God's name. Zainab's story continues to resonate as a reminder of the need to evaluate every prophecy with wisdom and rigor. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue exploring the hidden mysteries and stories of the Bible, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring you more videos like this and reach more people interested in the Bible. Turn on notifications so you don't miss out on upcoming content, and share this video with friends who might like it. See you next time.